It all began on a planet called Barsum, divided into three great realms: Helium, Zodanga, and Tharks. 1,000 years ago, the army of blue capes from Helium was pitted against the red capes of Zodanga in an ongoing war. The general known as Sab then is approached by three individuals who claim to be messengers of a goddess known as Thurn. The leader of these messengers, Matai Shang, hands him a mysterious blue weapon, stating that he has been chosen by the goddess to receive it. These guys decide to aid Zodanga in the war, with the help of a blue light called the Ninth Ray, which makes them stronger than any other creature on that planet. Now, shifting the scene, let's go to Earth, specifically to the city of New York in 1881, where the story unfolds. Young Edgar is summoned by his wealthy uncle, John Carter, to visit the city. Upon arriving at the station, he is greeted by John's butler, who escorts him to his uncle's estate, a rich man and former captain of the Confederate Army. However, John's lawyer sadly informs Edgar of his uncle's death and reveals that he has left all his vast wealth to him. The lawyer takes Edgar to the mausoleum where John's body is being preserved. The most intriguing aspect, however, is that the door can only be opened from the inside. Later, the lawyer hands Edgar John's diary, meant only for his eyes. As the lawyer leaves, Edgar begins to read and soon comes across a message from his uncle stating that Edgar was the only one who believed in his crazy stories, and now he needed to believe in the tale written in that diary. Okay, it all starts in Arizona, just after the Civil War, where John Carter was solely focused on searching for gold in the region's caves. However, Colonel Paul of the United States Army sought his help to confront the Apaches with his cavalry. Determined, Paul kidnaps John and tries to force him to act as his soldier. Exhausted from battles, however, John refuses to continue and ends up being captured. After several failed escape attempts, John finally manages to flee by putting the guard to sleep and escaping with the colonel's horse, prompting the colonel to gather his men and initiate a pursuit. In his frantic escape, he encounters a group of Apache warriors. The colonel decides to unleash heavy fire on the Indians, and amidst the chaos of battle, John manages to escape. Driven by compassion, he decides to help the wounded colonel and leads him to a nearby cave. He enters the cave and lights a match, only to be surprised by the discovery of a lot of gold inside. John seems to have struck it rich, but something strange occurs. A man appears behind him out of nowhere, and the colonel informs John that he can shoot the man, causing him to fall to the ground. As John approaches, he hears the man utter the word Barsum while holding a strange medallion. John takes the artifact and repeats the same word, and suddenly he opens his eyes and finds himself in a very different place from the cave. Somewhat disoriented, John gets up and tries to walk, but ends up stumbling with every step. It seems he can float in the air, but he quickly gets the hang of it, and while leaping, John reaches a hill where he comes across several eggs hatching inside a bizarre kind of incubator. At this moment, a group of green beings appears, riding on giant creatures. The leader of these creatures attacks the cowboy, causing John to make a huge leap. The others stop shooting at John when the leader commands, and the creature speaks in a different language and introduces itself as Thace Tarkas. The cowboy also introduces himself, saying his name is John Carter from Virginia. However, the creatures misunderstand and start calling him Virginia. Then, Tarkas asks John to jump again as he did before, but he refuses and tries to attack the creature, only to be hit and taken hostage. These beings are the Tharks, one of the three kingdoms mentioned earlier. Meanwhile, the princess of the city of Helium, Deja, is showcasing an invention she designed herself to assist her father, the king of Helium, in the war against Zodanga. Zodanga is on the verge of winning due to their alliance with the Thurn. Deja managed to design her own ninth ray using her invention. However, when she shows it to her father, someone mysteriously causes the machine to stop working, and the princess becomes sad. To end the war, she will have to marry the king of Zodanga, which she is completely against because she knows that marrying Sab then will make him the prince of Helium and give him the power to rule the entire planet. In the meantime, the Tharks take John to their city and place him with the newly born babies. During the night, a Thark woman forces John to drink a liquid that immediately enables him to understand their language. The next day, John is taken to another location and forced to jump again. However, a group of gigantic spacecraft from Helium and Zodanga appears in the sky. This becomes a source of amusement for the Tharks, who even place bets on which side will win the war. The princess is fighting on one of the ships but gets thrown out. John springs into action, using his newly discovered jumping power to save the princess. He then begins to fight against the Zodanga army, while the Tharks cheer for the cowboy from below. John and the princess triumph in that battle, but their ship crashes. However, they are rescued by the Tharks, and their leader is fascinated by John's abilities, deciding that John would become his right-hand man. The cowboy is a bit confused, not understanding everything, but in the end, he accepts the proposal. During the night, the princess reveals to John that they are on Mars, called Barsoom, and he mentions being from Earth, although she doubts it. She notices that John's bone density and Martian gravity give him the strength to make enormous leaps. The princess had the idea of taking John to the Tharks temple, a place where the presence of humans was forbidden. She wanted to find information about interworld travel like John had done. However, Sola, that Thark woman who had given John the drink earlier, follows them and pleads with them not to enter the place. But John and the princess don't listen. They find the statue of the goddess Isis, the deity of the Tharks. However, before they can read the scriptures, the three are captured and sentenced to death for trespassing in the temple. Tarkas asks to be alone with the prisoners and reveals that Sola is his daughter, and he doesn't want her to die at the hands of the Tharks. He hands the medallion to John and tells him to go to the river Isis to find answers that will help him return to his world. After a while, the Tharks check on the prisoners and discover that they've escaped. Thal Rajus takes command and declares himself the new leader. His first order is to capture the traitor Tarkas. At this moment, John, Deja, and Sola head towards the river. However, Sola reveals that the princess is leading them to the city of Helium instead of the river, and John confronts her. He discovers that Deja intended to use him as a soldier in the war of her city. Disappointed, John asks Sola to lead the way, leaving the princess behind. But the princess explains that she did it because she didn't want to marry Sabdan. Understanding the princess's situation, John asks her to join him to the river. While sailing down the river, they come across a massive structure resembling an inverted pyramid. John and the princess ascend it and witness a strange blue light. Deja states that it's the power of the ninth ray and also discovers that John was on Mars due to a transition of a copy of him from Earth propelled by that blue light. An army of creatures led by Matai Shang appears, and John decides to confront them along with his alien dog and later with the help of the King of Helium, who arrives and aids him. The princess goes to the ship and, upon seeing her father, rushes to embrace him. However, she is surprised to notice the presence of the King of Zodanga. Her father explains that Sab then approached without weapons or troops, seeking her hand in marriage as a solution to end the war. With no options to stop the conflict, the princess agrees to marry him. Everyone returns to the palace of Helium, where John rests on a bed. A trusted soldier of the princess secretly takes him to her room, where she asks John to use a medallion to return to Earth, revealing the necessary keywords. John disappears as the guards enter the room, and the princess thinks he has returned to Earth, but he was merely hiding. However, John ends up being captured by Matai Shang, who could transform into any creature. Meanwhile, the city was preparing for the wedding between Sabdan and Princess Deja. The Thurn captures John using a wrist device powered by the energy of the ninth ray. He also reveals that Sabdan planned to kill the princess and invade Helium after the wedding. At that moment, John's alien dog friend appears, freeing him from Matai Shang's control. John escapes in a spaceship to try to stop the wedding, but he struggles to pilot the ship and ends up crashing near Thark territory. He is captured again and taken to a captivity where Thace Tarkas was imprisoned. Thal Rajus puts John and Tarkas in an arena to fight creatures called white apes. However, John, with his abilities and strength, defeats the creatures in front of the entire Thark population. He then challenges Thal Rajus to a fight and defeats him with a single blow, earning applause from the Tharks. John becomes the new leader of the Tharks. The Thark army and John then set off towards the city of Helium to prevent the wedding. John arrives in time and interrupts the ceremony, but Sab then tries to kill the princess. However, John manages to stop him in time, and the war between the soldiers of the two cities begins anew. This time, the Tharks fight alongside Helium, and Zodanga is defeated. However, Matai Shang manages to escape with the medallion that John needed to return to Earth. Despite this, John isn't too worried, as he plans to live on Mars as the husband of Princess Deja. Later that night, we see the couple talking on the balcony, and John is left alone. Suddenly, Matai Shang appears and sends him back to Earth. Upon awakening, John finds himself covered in dust, with a long beard, in the same cave we saw at the beginning. As he looks at Colonel Paul, he finds only his remains, indicating that much time has passed on Earth while he was on Mars. Quickly, John searches for the medallion but can't find it anywhere, making his return to Mars impossible. However, he becomes very rich due to the gold he found in the cave. Aware of the existence of more medallions on Earth, John decides to open a mining operation and spends the next 10 years searching for a medallion. Until one day, he finally finds one and becomes emotional. But he knows he's being watched by the Thurn the whole time, and his body on Earth needs to be protected when he returns to Mars. Any harm he suffers could lead to his death on both planets. This is why his mausoleum can only be opened from the inside. John meticulously planned his death to return to Mars and documented everything in his diary. He wishes for his nephew, Edgar, to protect his body from the Thurn in exchange for his wealth. After finishing reading the diary, Edgar is shocked and rushes to his uncle's mausoleum. Trying to open it, he succeeds. However, a mysterious figure appears behind Edgar. Before the man could harm him, John appears and saves his nephew. He then takes the medallion that the Thurn possessed. The truth is that he had never found the real medallion. All of this, including his own death, was planned to deceive the Thurn and thus obtain the medallion. In the final scene, John asks his nephew to protect his body. He enters the mausoleum, lies down on the bed, and holds the medallion. John utters the keywords that will lead him back into the arms of his wife on Mars. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to receive more videos like this. Activate the notifications and leave a like to support the channel. Thanks, and see you next time.